The cool thing about this routing section is all the things you learned before will work just like you learned it, but now you're able to simply switch out different components in your application through the router and therefore load different pieces dynamically. So where do we start? I do have a nice little application here. As you already know it mostly with Bootstrap imported in the index.html file and then in this app.vue file, just a relatively empty template, but you see I already also created some components which we'll use. You'll find this starting project attached to this lecture. I did create a couple of components which are pretty much empty and only display what they contain basically, so that we are able to select the user and so on. I created these components because for routing, it's all about dynamically switching these components. These components can kind of represent our pages if you want to look at it like this, and therefore it's key to have multiple of them so that we can demonstrate this. Well, let's start simple and let's actually begin with setting up our application here and add some routes to it. For that, we need the vue-router. Like in the last lecture, or in the last module, excuse me, where we used the Vue resource package, now I'm going to install a third-party package, the vue-router, because it's not included in VueJS by default, because VueJS in its core may be used like we used it before, to only dump in certain widgets or pieces into existing applications, into multi-page applications. But with this package, we can now enable single-page features. So here, npm, and then install --save to save it as a production dependency, vue-router. Now, by hitting enter, this will pull down the router and install it, and is finished, and it automatically installs the 2.0 version of the router, which is the one for VueJS 2.0, which we are of course using in this course. So the router was installed here, and with that router installed, it's time to set up some routes in the next video.